Hey everybody, it's Ray Perry from Tampa, Florida, and today we are going to talk about the Fuji X100V. The big announcement was just yesterday where they revealed the new camera, and we're going to talk about whether or not you should upgrade if you have the X100F. And of course, this would apply down the line too if you have the T or the S. Trying to decide if you want to upgrade to this camera is going to be a big factor, and I know that I don't have the camera in my hands yet. No one really has the camera in their hands yet. It won't be available for a few weeks yet, but I think that the Fuji line, the X100 line, has been so consistent in its shape and its form factor and stuff like that, that I think that it's really easy to talk even now before we have the camera in our hands about whether or not it's going to be worth the upgrade. Okay, before we get started, don't forget, I've got a fantastic podcast. It's called Photobomb. Check it out anywhere that you can find podcasts. Also, I have a group online called Pro Photo Talk with Ray Perry, and I'd love to have you in that group. And if you go right down there to the description, you will find a link to all the gear that I carry, both my travel gear, my vacation gear, and my professional Canon gear. It's all right there on that link, as well as links to my Instagram and my Twitter. And please subscribe to my channel and like my videos. Okay, so let's get started. So a while back, I made a video about the upcoming F100V and what changes I would like to see, the top 5 changes that I would like to see in the camera. And I thought that it would be a good place to start. We'll talk about those 5 changes and whether or not Fuji actually made them. So first up, it's the touchscreen. The touchscreen was number 5 on my list of changes that I would like to have made to the Fuji camera, and for me, it is going to be probably the most controversial change to this camera. Yes, they put a touchscreen on the camera, which I said, sure, I'd like to have a touchscreen. To touch focus would be kind of cool, but what they did was they took the D-pad off the camera. I really like the D-pad. See, here's the thing. If you're like me and you wear reading glasses, then you use the viewfinder a lot when you want to view the menu system on the camera, right? So you're looking at the menu system and you're using the D-pad here on the back to quickly navigate through the menu system. Well, on the 100V, they have completely removed this D-pad. So now if you want to navigate through the menu system, instead of going left or right or up, you've got to swipe, 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 right? This is just not, if you're holding the camera, this is not going to be, I guess maybe I would get used to it, but it just seems to me like this is still just quicker and easier to move around. I expect that you will be able to navigate within the menus by using the joystick, which will be a little bit better, I think. But, I mean, I wanted a touch screen, kind of, but I didn't want it at the expense of the D-pad. And that's what they gave us. Number 4 on my list was the better thumb grip. As you can see, I keep a thumb grip on my camera, and I would really love it if they would just dedicate a little bit more of a nub here. Something for you to be able to hold this camera a little more securely, especially if you have a flash on top. They did not do that. We've seen the pictures, and no. The new 100V is almost identical to the current 100F. So no, there's still no grip here for you to grab a hold of, and I really would have liked to have seen that. It was number 4 on my list. They did move the Q button. The Q button now will be more around the side, so you're less likely to hit it by accident. I think that's a good thing. But they could have just put a little nub right there, a little something for us to grab a hold of, especially because when you're shooting street or just with your family, you tend to be kind of all over the place with your camera. So we didn't get that. Number 3 was the ISO dial. I think we're all agreed that the ISO dial is a little bit wonky to use on the 100F. They have changed it. It's in the same spot and does the same thing, except now when you pull it up to change it, it stays up. So you pull it up, click, you move it where you want it, and then you click it back down. And this is going to be easier than the way it is right now. Now, it's not what I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen a dedicated ISO dial. I would have liked to have seen them replace the exposure compensation dial with an ISO dial that was dedicated, and then just let us use the front dial for exposure compensation, which is what I do anyway. If you don't know that, by the way, if you set this to C, then this becomes your exposure compensation, and it's much easier to use in practice than reaching up here and trying to use this dial every time you want to change your compensation on your exposure. So they kind of went halfway. They made the ISO dial better, but not as good as it could be. Number 2 was Bluetooth, and of course they're doing the Bluetooth connectivity. So now you will be able to have it so that the camera is constantly downloading images as you take them, instead of having to dedicate time to go into the app and actually select the images and download them to your phone. That was number 2 on my list. I liked that I had a special card in my S that would do that for me before they had any of the Wi-Fi connectivity. And I liked it. I would be taking pictures as I was walking around, and they would just be downloading to my phone all the time. So I really liked that, and I'm glad that we're going to be getting that on the new camera. Number 1 was flip screen, and hallelujah, they are giving me the one thing that I asked for. We are getting a flip screen. It's my understanding it's the same flip screen that we had on the Fuji X-T3. I have read, some people say it flips up, some people say it flips up and down. From what I've seen in the pictures, it looks like it's the same screen they have on the X-T3, which means it's going to flip up and it's going to flip down. Flip up, and flip around. A little crisscross reference for those of you of a certain age. And so, yes, yay. That's all I wanted. It doesn't have to flip around for selfies. I mean, I guess it would have been nice, but I think that just having it go up and down, I want to be able to hold the camera over my head. I want to be able to hold the camera at waist level. So, again, backtracking. 5 things I asked for. Touchscreen, yes. Better thumb grip, no. ISO dial, sorta. Bluetooth, yes. Flip screen, yes. Right? That's a pretty good track record of the 5 things, the top 5 things that I wanted to be done with this camera in order for me to upgrade. So it's looking pretty good for me to make the upgrade. But let's take a look at all the other changes that they made. All right, let's talk about the changes, in detail, the changes between these 2 cameras, because I know that some people are going to watch this video and they're really looking for some in-depth stuff, and I tend to be a little more fast and loose with my videos. This is more of a vlog than it is a professional review. Keep that in mind when you're slamming me in the comments. But for this particular video, I did want to have all of the details in front of me so that you could really try and figure out for yourself if the upgrade is right for you. So I've got them right in front of me on the screen here. My apologies, please, while I look down to make sure that I get them all right, because I don't want to be constantly having to correct myself in the comments if at all possible. So let's talk about the one big one that was not on my list of 5 things that was on a lot of people's list, and you are getting it, kind of. And that's weather sealing. They say the new X100V will be weather resistant, but in order to make it fully weather resistant, you have to put something on the front. Now, they say it's a kit. I'm not sure. I imagine maybe that what we've already got will do the job, but basically you have to put a filter on the front of the camera. And the reason is because the lens element right here is exposed and it moves in and out. And so that's where moisture can get into the camera. So you have to seal it by putting another piece of glass right across the front. And when you think about it, my professional lenses that I use for my weddings and stuff, my Canon lenses, they have a piece of glass right on the front. And then you put a filter on top of that. Well, this doesn't really have that piece of glass right on the front. So they didn't want to make the lens any bigger. They wanted it to be exactly the same. The camera's the same size as the old one. So they didn't do that, but you can. And so you'll spend about $100 and you'll put that filter, and now the camera will be weather resistant, which is a big deal for a lot of shooters who do street photography because they love to go out and work in the rain. And I imagine it's a good deal too, a great deal, if you use it as a vacation camera. If you're in Ireland, walking around seeing Ireland and it's foggy or misty or what have you, well, having a camera that's weather resistant can be a very big deal. So that is a big upgrade to the V versus the F. So let's just go down the list and kind of talk about each one. I'm going to kind of hit these fast because I don't want this video to be 30 minutes long. The sensor has been upgraded. The sensor that you get now is basically the same sensor that's in the X Pro 3. The old sensor was 24.3 megabytes and the new one is 26.1 megabytes. It's the new CMOS 4 sensor. It's backside illuminated. So they say it will give you better images in low light, which would be great because I've never been super impressed with the low light specifications of the 100F. So I would love to see even more low light. Who doesn't want more low light? You're getting a new lens, and the lens has new elements. Not just like the latest. I mean, they showed on the launch, they showed that the lens has new elements in it, and they say that it's going to focus faster and it's going to give you a sharper image. This is important because at f2, especially if you're close, it can be kind of soft, right? So I would really, really hope that it's going to be sharper, but it's not a deal killer for me. I've always wanted it to be sharper, but I've never just hated that it wasn't sharp enough because so much of the work that you do with these cameras is street, and street photography is very forgiving in that respect. You're getting more continuous frames per second, from 8 frames per second to 11 frames per second. I could care less about that. I'm not shooting sports. The autofocus is getting better. The old one is 325 points. The new one is 425 points. right? 100 more points of autofocus. That's great. The optical viewfinder is changed a little bit, but not much. It's like it's just a tiny bit bigger, gives you just a tiny bit more coverage. The electronic viewfinder now has been upgraded quite a bit. It went from 2.36 million dots to 3.69 million dots. So, right? Over 1.1 million more dots, right? That's a lot of dots. More dots. The display has been majorly upgraded, as I mentioned, because the display will now be tilting. It also is going from a 1.04 display to a 1.62 display, so you're getting more pixels there as well. Video, which I care nothing about, is getting a huge upgrade. So if you want to shoot video with this camera, go right ahead because you are getting much better video. The old video was HD up to 60p. The new video is HD up to 120p. It's going to have DCI 4K, UHD 4K, DCI 2K up to 60p. The 4K is up to 30p. I don't necessarily know what all of these things mean, but I know that if you're a video person, they're important to you. So that's good to know. It's upgrading the connectivity issues and the ports on the side. The old one was USB 2.0. The new one's going to be 3.1, generation 1. So it's going to be the new port to plug into the side of the camera, which I don't know that I've ever used. As I mentioned, the wireless is getting upgraded. So instead of just the Wi-Fi connectivity, you're going to have the Bluetooth, which keeps the Wi-Fi connected so that you can upload constantly as you're walking around. The battery is going to be the same. Yeah, yay, no? I mean, yay, because now the extra batteries I have, I can just transfer over, but not so yay because if we got a bigger battery or a new battery, we would get more battery life. But even though we're using the same battery, we are still getting more battery life, right? Check this out. If you use the OVF, the optical viewfinder, you're going to go from 390 frames to 420 frames. But if you use the EVF, which is the one that I use most of the time, you're going to go from 270 to 350 frames. And that's a big jump, right? That's 70. Am I right about that? 270 to 350, 80. I'm sorry. 80. That's 80 extra shots that you get if you use the EVF. And the optical viewfinder is going to 420. So it's going to top 400 for the first time, right? That's good to know. The dimensions are the same. The weight is the same. And they say that they're using aluminum now in the frame, which is supposed to be very nice. I didn't know that this wasn't aluminum. I'm not a metallurgist. Maybe out there somebody can explain to me in the comments what that means when they talk about using aluminum in the frame and how it's going to be different than what we have now, because I don't understand that. So that's it. That's all the step-by-step breakdown, all the changes between these two cameras, the X100F and the X100V. So what does it all mean? Let me start by saying this is all commentary, right? This is all opinion, and I want your opinions too, so please get into the comments and tell me what you think. But this is, once again, just my opinion. Let me start by saying this. When you reach a certain age, there isn't much that excites you anymore, right? You don't have, it's not like when you're a kid, when every week there's some new toy or some new gadget or some new thing that you love. And you remember that feeling, right? When you were a kid, what it was like to just constantly have something that you wanted. And then when you get older, that kind of goes away. And so if you find something in your life that puts that spark back into you, you know, the thing that you love, the thing that you want to, like, you know, I buy accessories for my camera and stuff like that. If you find that in your life, you should kind of hang on to it and hold precious. And don't discount the value of joy. And this is important. Don't discount the value of something that simply makes you happy. So we're trying to decide whether or not to upgrade from the F to the V. And we can lay out all the specs of whether or not it's worth the upgrade. Are they giving us something for the money? And that's easy to do. I figure you can probably sell your F for about $500, which means you're going to spend about $900 to upgrade to the V. So for $900 on this side, I'm going to get a tilt screen, weather resistance, a better sensor, a better EVF, a better OVF, longer battery life, a new lens, right? Touch screen, Bluetooth connectivity. I'm getting a lot, right? I'm getting a lot for $900, but am I getting $900 worth of a lot? And most importantly, do I really need it? Am I going to take better pictures with the X100V than I did with the X100F? Am I really? I think if we're honest, we would say probably not. Because In many ways, unfortunately for Fuji, they did such a good job with this line of cameras that it's becoming very hard to come out with something that's going to be better, right? So they're adding all this stuff to the camera, but the bottom line is the people who love this camera love it so much that we're perfectly happy with the images it produces. In fact, we're overjoyed with the images that it produces. So I know there are going to be a lot of people in the comments who are going to say, man, I'm staying with my F. Or they're going to say, I'm buying someone's used F before I spend $900 more on the V. And that's perfectly valid. Perfectly valid. If your camera is all about value and how you use it day to day. But if you add in one more thing to the pile of stuff that you get, if you add in one more feature that comes with the X100V, it might tip the scale. And that feature is, do you really want it? You know, do you really want it? Do you want to put your hands on it? Do you want to play around with the new flip screen? Do you want to have the better connectivity to your phone? Do you want to see what that new lens can do? Do you really want that? How much joy are you going to have opening the box when it arrives? Is all of that worth $900? I haven't gotten my hands on the new V yet, so I haven't had a chance to really test it. But I can tell you right now that, yeah, I think that it's going to be worth, I think it's going to be $900 worth of joy. I do. I really do. Because there just isn't much that I feel that way about anymore. And I do feel that way about this camera. And I suspect most of the people watching this video feel that way too. Like I have a friend who loves cars. And so he's always buying cars, even though he doesn't need a new car. But he loves cars, and it's nice to have something that you're passionate about, right? And most of the people who own this camera are passionate about this camera. So I think I'm going to get mine in black. And then I'm going to buy some black accessories for it. And I think I'm going to spend more time shooting with the camera at my waist level because I've got that flip screen. And I think I'm going to see about having the camera download the images directly to my phone in real time. I'm excited about that, right? That's fun for me. And you can't discount that, especially as you start to become older, because the things that are really, really fun for you, they start to become fewer and far between, right? So I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you if it's worth it. I really can't. The bottom line is, if you buy this camera used, you are going to love it, and you are going to use it, and you are going to get fantastic pictures, as we all have, and you're going to be extremely happy. But if you already have this camera and you want to experience some more happiness for about $900, then I would probably upgrade to the X100V. I'm pretty sure I am. Yeah. I'll put a link in the description down here. When it comes out, I'll put a link to where you can get this camera online. And if you click that link and decide to buy the X100V, great, because that will, I think I'll make like $3. And that'll help me keep this channel alive. Once again, don't forget, all the links in the description will lead you to all my gear, so you can find everything that I use and check out all this stuff and maybe help me support this channel. And that's about it. As soon as I get my hands on one and I do some shooting, I will absolutely make another video and give you my review of the camera. It's going to be a while because the silver model is going to come out in February 2020, but the black model isn't going to come out until March. I've had 2 silver models, so I've decided I think I'm going to go with the black model this time. So it's going to be at least March before I make that video, so I'm going to be a little bit late, but hopefully my faithful viewers will tune in to check it out anyway. All right, I'll see everybody next time.